Jarvis, drop my needle.
Hello, this is the hardcore legend Mick Foley, and if you are interested in listening to idiots, you came to the right place. Have a nice day.
Woo! That's an attention getter.
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot.
What we're dealing with here is a complete lack of respect for the law.
Oh my God, he's an idiot.
You know, of course, that you're out of your jurisdiction.
Personally, I think you're an idiot.
But that's the evidence in the car.
But I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Always like to keep my audience riveted.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, friends and fiends, and welcome to Free Range Idiocy, the podcast about everything, but mostly just the stuff we like. Welcome to the week four. Yes, I'm taking on the Iron Sheik now. Welcome to the week 4 of March Madness as we head into the final stretch with our Star Wars character brackets. This episode, we dive into Region 4, which features some heady competition with live-action streaming shows like The Mandalorian, Ahsoka, Andor, and, well, Kenobi. I mean, hey, they can't all be winners, right? Anyways, these two idiots will finally fill the last spot remaining in their final 4. Man, that sounded a lot less dirty when I wrote it. In this episode 156 of Star Wars Character Bracketology, I am your Uncle Todd, and with me, as always, is the man who is still in arbitration with the Writers Guild over his credit as yet unproduced Greedo limited series. He has been my partner in Idiocy for over 2 decades, and man, he'd always want to go to Comic-Con, but he can't quite find a Chewbacca outfit that doesn't ride up in the seat. I give you the man they call Jim.
Ooh, yeah, the cream rises to the top.
Love that. Love it.
There it is, baby.
Finally making its appearance here on the podcast. 2 years after you received that as a gift, but still, hey.
Well, how was I going to visualize it back in the audio-only days?
Well, you could have described it in very loving detail.
It's green, it has snowflakes, it has a multicolored version of the Macho Man.
Yes. There you go. See? That would have worked.
All I'm missing are my little cream cups that I keep pulling out of my hand every 30 seconds into the promo, like he did. But
cup of coffee
in the big time. And the best part of that promo was his constant whining about President Jack Tunney doesn't want to see the Macho Man on top.
Oh, Jack Tunney, man, those are the good old days. Oof. Back when there was a president of the WWF, and now we have commissioners.
This is May of 1987, sir. So 37 years ago.
Yes.
37 years ago. So,
and you know what? I, for one, am glad.
I'm gonna have a sip on that one.
I'm glad that we are in the commissioner era, and I'm particularly glad with the 2 commissioners that we have right now. I was thinking about that today because there was some segment or something. I think it was when Logan Paul got his, opponents for WrestleMania and all those shenanigans. And what's the dude who isn't Adam Pearce? Why can't I remember his name?
His name is Nick Aldis.
Nick Aldis. I love the fact that we have one GM who is just uber confident and just very smooth and suave, and then Adam Pearce who just it's like the substitute teacher who's just I just want to get through the night without anything going wrong. And these chuckleheads keep messing with me.
You know what I feel is missing from Adam Pearce is he needs to lose the suit coat. So just the nice shirt and tie. He's got to have a pencil in his ear.
Yeah.
He's got to have a half written on legal pad that he's running around with. I mean, that would complete the flustered, stressed out.
The only thing he's missing is an unfiltered camel, down to
yes.
down to that, just all ash, and twitching.
We got to make that happen, my friend. We got to make that happen.
Like a cup of coffee just shaking in his hands I just need to make it through another week. That's all. Almost there. Indeed. Anyways, how are you doing, sir? We're a few minutes in. How's things going out in the greater Chicagoland area?
Well, the Metro train's running a little slow tonight. There's nothing like going up the escalator at the train station and seeing on the readout that you would normally see your train time, departure time, and then track that it's on, and just delayed all the way down. It's oh, good God.
No time on the delay, just a sideways 8, a little infinity,
basically. And then, of course, I pulled the Uber app up just to see what that situation looks like. They apparently were keen to whatever was going on because it was a good, solid hundo to get back to the suburbs. Oh, so yeah. I'm all right, I'm riding this one out, and hopefully I get home in time that we can record.
Isn't that like what Wendy's was doing, the rush pricing or whatever, surge pricing?
Yes, surge price. Yes,
isn't that great?
Yeah. Oh, the Uber is who made that popular with the surge pricing. So thank you for that.
Yeah, that's a very tight second place in my least favorite innovations lately, along with subscription models for everything.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to get a new car now because there's like even some companies that are doing like, if you want to
unlock
whatever
services in the car.
Yeah, like no, I bought the damn car.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not paying you so I can have keyless entry or something.
I could see a case for like if you're leasing it or something like that, because there's the eventuality that you turn it back in,
Not
or
even
you
then,
assume
like
ownership. But like no. But I mean, if you're paying to own the car, I agree with you. Don't give me subscription services because I own the thing.
Yeah, no.
But if I'm leasing it, for crying out loud, I'll rent I'm literally renting the car at that point. So may as well rent the services in it. But nonetheless.
All right. Anyways, we are just hurtling onwards here and wasting time as usual.
Should we test out this new hand gesture we've learned with the
no? Let's
LA
just
Night,
save that. Let's
LA
just
Night
save
music.
That.
No.
Okay.
No. CM Punk music.
We'll hang on to that for a little while. Let's get into the Week in Geek here and shuffle things along, shall we?
All right, let's do it.
Week in
So
funky. Oh, didn't do it again. Dag, blame it.
Oh,
there it goes. Woohoo!
Yeah, I did an upgrade to Sonoma last week, so now I'm in on this party too.
All
right, what do we got this episode, sir?
All right, well, we're kind of jumping all over the place on this one. First article up, basically from the slashfilm.com folks, purveyors of all sci-fi and good things in the movies. Article from actually end of January. This one's been in the hopper for a while, but Dave Filoni talks about 2 Star Wars characters that he sees in Thrawn's future, and it wouldn't be much of a surprise to us. One of them I think we've already seen in the Ahsoka series, and in this article he touches on basically what he considers to be Thrawn's foil throughout Rebels, which is General Hera Syndulla. So he is definitely wanting to see. That's right. He wants to see Thrawn crossing paths with her. And then, who do you think the other person is?
Well, it's not going to be his old buddy there, the Captain Pelion.
Yeah, that's the other person.
Oh well, didn't he already show up in Mando?
He showed up in Mando, but he's saying like have him cross paths with Thrawn.
Oh, well, I mean, it seems like that's kind of a natural like. Of course, he's going to cross paths.
I think he was kind of teasing it in the sense that there'll be the reunion. Reunited and it feels so good.
Wow. How many of those did you have on the train in?
Maybe a couple doubles.
Don't blame you.
I got the double, and then the double.
Excuse me, could I have a doggy glass?
Basically.
Yes, sir. We call that a bottle?
Can I have a bottle for my paper bag?
So 2 good choices there. I'm with him on both of those. I mean, granted, we've seen both of them in live action, and I love me some Mary Elizabeth Winstead. I think she's a great actress, so I'm in for that one. Sure. Indeed.
Well, and I think while Ahsoka touched on the Hera Syndulla character, we didn't really get a whole lot of depth out of her. You got a little bit, but it'll be nice in one of these future series where it has a focus on Thrawn and the Rebels gang, that we get a little bit more in depth on Hera and see her pull some tomfoolery on our Grand Admiral.
I don't think
not make him look
silly. I think it's more shenanigans.
Okay. Or is it more laying the smacketh down?
We can only hope. I mean, actually, so the first couple seasons of Rebels, some of their missions were much more tomfoolery-ish, and then it segued into shenanigans, and then outright laying the smack down.
Yep. But I am as a fan of the books, I am much looking forward to the Captain Pelion Grand Admiral Thrawn reunion and what that will mean if they're going to link up forces and start laying the smack down on the New Republic. We shall see.
I would think so.
But I appreciate Filoni's heart is in the right place, wanting to get this much beloved villain, in connected with two characters, both on the good and the bad that have been synonymous with him. So
right on.
All right, next one. This one's interesting. Robert Ebert's Iron Man review predicted the MCU's future problems 15 years ago.
Huh. Okay.
This is an article from GameRant.com. Again, this is from my January pile of articles that we didn't quite get to. Going deep in the well, baby. Going deep in the well. But I felt this was apropos because the MCU's been a little dodgy as of late.
Yeah. Although, actually, I was watching something that they said they were actually going to, they're going to pay off what the hell was the thing that was coming out of the celestial that was coming out of the earth?
Oh, yes.
And that's going to be the source of adamantium.
Schnick. Oh, schnick. Very nice.
So, yeah, apparently that's a thing.
Oh, interesting.
So that's, I mean, just the fact that they were actually looping back to that and just, it's like, hey, yeah, there's this gigantic thing that emerged from the ocean. Has nobody mentioned that at all, like even in passing? But anyways,
well, and also the fact that it seems like it could smite our world, pretty much on.
Oh, well, yeah,
limb,
the gigantic dude that appered in the sky, that as well.
There's that little detail that we seem to be forgetting about too. But,
yeah, well, I did. But then again,
But here is the quote from one Roger Ebert that was a bit prescient given his statement back in 2008.
Right on.
He says, quote, "It's prudent, I think, that Favreau positions the rest of the characters in a more serious vein," states Ebert. "What a horror show it would have been if they were all tuned to Tony Stark's sardonic wavelength. Amazingly, what was praised as a strength of the film is why the MCU faces criticism." Oh, sorry. End of quote. I started reading the article.
I was going to say this. And then Ebert from Beyond the Grave says.
But basically, Ebert saying that because in Iron
seance 2 months ago.
Because in Iron Man, the seriousness of characters like Pepper Potts and Obadiah Stane, as a contrast to his sarcastic humor, is what made an interesting dynamic. And the fact that now what as a Redditor had pointed out, quoted in this article, that it bugs the hell out of me that Doctor Strange, Thor, Banner, Marvel, Lang got the Tony personality transplant. And I do kind of agree with that I think there is a bit of trying to infuse other characters with what made Tony.
Yeah.
And the fact that, I think what Ebert's point is, it's great to have that, but you've got to have a serious element as well to make that stand out. Otherwise it all becomes either the same or it's white noise. So
true.
Thoughts on that, sir?
No, I agree. I mean, I don't see it so much as, I think Thor is probably the one out of that. And I think even Banner in some ways. I think
Banner's a stretch.
I think
Fat Thor, though.
Stephen
Strange
kind
of hit it, but.
And I think Carol Danvers to some degree. Yeah, but I think even that could be overcome if the other characters around them are like Ebert is saying, like they're a foil to that. That's why Captain Marvel works so well, because Carol Danvers could be that sarcastic, kind of loose cannon sort of character, and everyone around her was much more serious.
Yeah.
The one that I think is egregious is where Nick Fury has kind of verged into this chuckle a second sort of character, where I'm like, that's not been him. Like, and even if you follow like a character arc, like this is a dude who, if anything, should be getting like a darker personality. Like he has seen some stuff. He has gone through a lot of stuff. And even if he is still with this, like, I'm the baddest man on the planet sort of thing, that's going to take a toll, wouldn't you think?
Yeah.
Having gone through all this and having lost Tony Stark, having gone, trying to save the world over and over and over again, but his character in the Marvels turned into this like, goofy kind of sidekick. And it's like, that shouldn't be that.
Yeah.
And I think that was, to me, that's the most egregious, because you have Danvers, plus then you have Kamala Khan, who is, just kind of, she's a kid. So, I mean, she's going to be goofy. There was no real serious point in that movie. And I think that's one of the biggest failings of that movie, even though it was kind of a fun watch. Yeah. But no, I agree. I think that is an issue. And we've seen it in wrestling. We've seen it in different other movies and everything else. Like, you have to have some serious characters. There has to be some gravitas in there to balance out the goofiness or the loose cannons.
Black Panther was a great example of it. Is it T'Challa never lost his kind of.
Well, he had some movement, some kind of goofy moments, but they were almost like self-effacing, like self-deprecating moments where he kind of was the butt of the joke.
Yes. They were rare. The one I think is the most egregious is Doctor Strange. I feel like Doctor Strange is Tony Stark 2.0 because you have the rich doctor who, yes, he was somewhat sarcastic, but quite honestly, it feels like he's more Tony now than he was when, he first started out in his origin story. Yeah. And so that to me, like, I felt like they had a good back and forth in the Avengers movies, but he's continued to keep that. So now it's like, it feels like he's kind of like a Tony ripoff in a way, And
no, I would agree.
But yes, so Robert Ebert, he holds
Roger
the key.
Ebert.
Roger Ebert.
Yeah.
Sorry,
no worries.
I was quoting his twin brother Robert. Nonetheless, our final article in our staying in the Marvel realm to some degree.
Speaking of schnick,
schnick is right. Yes, sir. We have. Did the Deadpool and Wolverine trailer have an Easter egg for the upcoming Avengers Secret Wars movie? This is, of course, brought to us by our friends at ScreenRant.com, who, let's face it, we're now basically a shill for this site since they
riding
supply
their coattails.
most of our Week in Geek content. So
unashamedly.
Indeed. But there's a point in the trailer, I believe it's when Deadpool is laying flat on his back and Wolverine is approaching him, that there is it's a very quick shot, but he is lying down next to a comic book from the 2015 Secret Wars Marvel Comics event. And so the thought being that this is somehow connected to the upcoming Avengers Secret Wars, that'll be based on that version of the comic book story, which dealt heavily with the incursions that have already made their way into various MCU dimensions. So it would make sense that they're teasing this as part of the multiversal saga, or teasing this finale in Deadpool and Wolverine, which will be leading into the next big Avengers movie. So, but this was something I did not notice. Quite honestly, I was more fixated on the fact that there was that one scene where there was a Doctor Doom lookalike guy, and we later debunked that. But no, I was too focused on the shadow of Wolverine, coming upon him rather than notice the ratty comic off to the right that may have said Secret Wars or not.
Yeah, I didn't notice that at all. That's like going by frame by frame. Totally.
Yes. So thoughts on that, sir? It's kind of interesting too, because it kind of leaps over. Like, I almost feel like, are they just going to get rid of the entire Avengers Kang Dynasty thing? Because it feels like Kang is just getting kind of tossed to the wayside at this point.
Well, I mean, I think that if I remember correctly, I believe this is the one Marvel release this year. I mean, we got
Deadpool
the Marvel
and Wolverine.
Yeah, like this is the only thing that's left on the calendar. Like after this, there's nothing. And they pushed everything back to 2025 at least.
Yeah.
And if I'm not mistaken, I think they actually flip-flopped Captain America 4 with Deadpool and Wolverine because they were so far ahead on this flick. So they actually pushed back Cap 4 to next year. And apparently they're doing extensive reshoots on that, which 9 times out of 10 is not great. However, I think that Deadpool does present a very interesting opportunity for Marvel to right some wrongs, because of Deadpool's ability to say whatever, do whatever, talk directly to the audience. And also, especially if you're dealing with Wolverine and the idea that Deadpool at the end of Deadpool 2 has this time machine, the fact that you could really go back and kind of retcon some stuff and smooth a few things over if you really want to, all in one movie and rapid fire, because that is kind of Deadpool's shtick, like just like one thing after another. So I think it could be a very interesting opportunity. Hopefully they'll utilize it. Hopefully the character is taken care of well. I think Ryan Reynolds is pretty much on board saying like this is the only comic book character he will ever play. Like this is it. Yeah. Like after Deadpool is done, he's done doing these types of movies. And let's face it, I mean Ryan Reynolds and Deadpool at this point are so close to each other. It's really tough to distinguish them when they're in other roles.
Well, and as I texted you like a few weeks back when the trailer first, when the trailer came out around Super Bowl time, I think I made the comment to you, like, I feel like Ryan Reynolds is very much in the vein of Robert Downey Jr., where so much of Tony Stark, seems to be embedded in RDJ and I mean, just listening to Ryan Reynolds talk, I think it was a few weeks ago. We were, I think I sent you a clip, or you sent me a clip on Instagram where he's interviewing Josh Brolin.
Yes.
And listening to, and they were doing a goof, they were kidding with each other and stuff, but listening to him talk to Josh Brolin and doing the shtick with him was like listening. If I closed my eyes, I would have thought it was a bit out of Deadpool.
Oh yeah,
totally. And literally Deadpool would be talking to Thanos. You know what I mean? Like listening to that whole thing, it was really funny.
So you have not seen the Deadpool movies. Josh Brolin was in Deadpool 2 as a different character called Cable.
I am aware of that. I was aware of that.
So we do have the chance of bringing Josh Brolin back into the MCU, which would be terribly interesting at some point for someone to go, you sound familiar.
Yes. I am inevitable.
Yeah. That'd be so great if he started to say something like that and like, don't do it.
Oh gosh.
But no, I think it could be very interesting, and I'm looking forward to the movie no matter what. I mean, they're kind of in the mode of, to your point though, I think right now the mode is like, let's just try not, it's almost like we don't talk about Bruno, like we don't talk about Kang right now. Like, let's just try and all forget that Kang ever existed. I mean, and then we recast him and we move forward as if nothing has happened.
Do you think it though, like I don't mean to ask the question this way, but do you feel, and this is totally looking back now with 2020 glasses, of course. Yeah. Do you feel it's somewhat serendipitous how things played out with Kang though? Like remember a year ago when we were talking about Ant-Man 3 and we're
with the character, with the actor? With the character.
Well, first with the character. Like, remember we were talking about, and I were talking about how strange it was that for this guy to be a Thanos level villain to get jobbed out in this movie felt wrong. But yet, given what happened with the real life person and how they kind of closed the book in some ways in Loki, it almost was serendipitous it played out this way. Like,
I mean, they did leave themselves an out.
His troubles did not start before the movies were filmed, so it's not like you can say they were planning it this way, right?
No.
I mean, it seemed like they made some pretty poor decisions, but real life kind of played out in a way that's like, oh, we can actually salvage this in a way, which is like, let's write them off in Loki and then let's forget about them,
You mean they worked themselves into a shoot and it somehow ended up working in their favor?
You know what? They done got and they got.
Even R-Truth wouldn't be able to unravel that one. That'd be like him and Triple H, like, man,
my bad.
You're crazy.
That's right.
I know. It's almost like I'm crazy.
Oh my god.
That was one of my favorite promos. Oh my goodness. That was good. All right.
So anyways, but it'll be interesting to see what happens. I do get, and we talked about this a little bit. I'm trying to remember what the last Marvel movie we did a Real and Jabroni on.
Might have been Ant-Man. Oh no, it was Loki too.
It was Loki.
Yeah.
But I think one of the rumors we were bandying about was, will the concept of Battle World get introduced? I think in this article, it talks about thinking that maybe Battle World from the comics is really the Void. And that's where we find Deadpool in this movie, is he gets thrown into the Void to have to solve something, and he crosses paths with Wolverine and hilarity ensues, but it'll be interesting. There'll be some shing shing going on. So,
it's schnick schnick, not shing shing.
Well, I'm going to schnick schnick shing shing. Say no more. All right. What?
All righty, we're heading to one of them shows. Okay.
Hey, well, there was something else I wanted to bring up, and now it's just that's it. Yeah, a little something like that. Well, anyways, with all that being said, it'll come back to me while we start the Star Wars stuff. That, my friends, is your Week in Geek. And why is it not working? There it goes.
You are worse than Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, these animations are worse than Hulk Hogan. Good God.
All right, sir. Well, thank you for that half-assed sleuthing and slurping around the internet that you did.
The heck? Wait a minute. Let me get this straight. I bring these stories and I completely redo the tournament when you left 2 shows out. Like, it wasn't like you forgot one. You forgot 2, and one of them was loved by everyone.
It's true. Forgetting Kenobi was almost on par with like Solo. Like, I get it. Completely missing on Andor. Like, there was no characters. And in my defense, I did not go back over. This is the one bracket that I kind of just looked at, and I'm like, I'll get back to it. And I never got back to it. Just never got back to it. Never laid eyes on it after the time I was like, yeah, sure, Tim, you take it. Take it and go ahead.
Gosh. Good.
So in retaliation, Tim now has 5 play-in brackets.
For
this thing.
That's right.
So we're going to go through this at light speed. I'll do the play-ins. You do the regular bracket, okay?
Can I quickly just dispense how I thought about this? So there are.
Is there any way that I could stop you?
No, not at this point. So there's 5 series that we're evaluating here.
Actually,
we're evaluating.
Hang on a second.
Ahsoka, The Mandalorian.
Oh, I can mute you. I can't unmute you now. Can you unmute yourself?
Yeah, look what happens when you start screwing around with stuff, you. The heck?
No,
I'm giving you a thumbs down on that one. Where's my thumb? There we go. That's right. The bubble says. All right. But here we go. So Ahsoka, Mando, Book of Boba Fett, Andor, and Obi-Wan.
Yes.
What I did was I took 4 main characters from Ahsoka. I took 4 main characters from Mando. Those are kind of the 2 big ones. I took 1 from each of the other 3. So we got Boba Fett, we got Obi-Wan, or what I call midlife crisis Obi-Wan, and then we have Cassian Andor. The remaining 5 slots are going to be filled by the play-in brackets, and each play-in bracket is specific to the series it belongs to. So we're going to have basically an 8-man throwdown from Mando. We're going to have a 4-man throwdown in Ahsoka, a 4-man throwdown in Book of Boba, I believe a 4-man in Obi-Wan Kenobi, and then Andor will be another 8. So we're going to boil it down. Each of these 5 will have one character that the cream rises to the top and goes into the play-in.
Hemorrhage yourself doing that. My God.
Oh, no, it feels good, actually. After that Metro ride home, my friend, let me tell you, I got to get this out of my system. So,
all right, so I'll do the play-in. You do the regular bracket, all right?
All right, so let me pull up the bracket itself.
All right, so play-in 1 is from Mendo.
There we go.
They all hate you, Mendo. So we've got our first matchup of Bo-Katan versus Cobb Vanth.
Can I just say something real quick?
Oh, jeez.
Should we just have you say Bo-Katan wins this play-in 1? Is there really any chance anyone's going to rise above her?
No, there isn't, but we must proceed in an orderly fashion.
Baba, proceed.
Otherwise, we are no better than the animals.
All right, I'm going to say Bo-Katan on this one.
Bo-Katan wins. Next up, we have IG-11 versus the Armorer.
This one's
Taika
tough.
Waititi versus the Armorer. I mean, come on.
The Armorer, gosh, she's there for all 3 seasons. She plays a major role in his journey, but IG-11,
got a really awesome fur coat too.
She does. And it seems like whenever she forges, someone goes into some sort of like flashback sort of thing with moving music and such.
Mm-hmm. Although with all that hammering, I kept waiting for like Tony Stark to show up. Sorry, wrong. My bad. A little stiff, a little snug.
You got. I don't know. I really liked what they did with IG-11 and the sacrifice that was made. I'm going to go with IG-11 on this one.
I'm going with the Armorer. Just way too cool. All right, next up we got Queel versus Captain Carson Teva, half of our Space Chips tandem. Who do you got?
I'm trying to think of what Keel used to say. What was his one line?
I have spoken.
I have spoken. He was such an odd character.
Yes.
And yet he grew into such a beloved character across that first season. And it really did hit you, you know, got a little
his
dusty
death
in
was
the
super
room.
meaningful. Like, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So as much as I like Space Chips and Captain Carson Teva, I got to go. This is going to be my theme. I'm going to go with the people who were short-lived on the series, but impactful.
Yes.
So I'm going to go with Keel on this one.
Yeah, I'm going with Queel as well.
Pelimato
versus Paz Vizsla.
Do we remember who Paz Vizsla is?
He's the kind of
he's
the
big
Hulk,
Mando. He is the hulking Mando,
voiced by Jon Favreau.
First voiced by Jon Favreau, and then later I forget who the other actor was, but sacrificed himself.
He didn't end up voicing him the whole time? I thought he did.
Oh, maybe he did.
I mean, they had another actor doing the physical work.
You're right. Yeah, maybe he did that. But this one's tough because Paz had a really, big sacrifice in season 3 with his character as they were trying to escape and went into one of those shootouts where he went down, in a blaze of glory, so to speak, as John Bon Jovi would say.
Oh, nice pull on that one, yeah.
Pelimoto, though, is just this, again, another odd character who just becomes beloved, and you just love every time she's on the show. You know, I mean, it's quirky, it's crazy, it's goofy.
Working in a little space junkyard.
Yes, space junkyard with little droids running around. But
oh my gosh,
whenever Grogu shows up, she's like, Mother Hen all of a sudden. She turns from this like hard-nosed mechanic into, oh, come here, baby. She just turns into like a lump of cotton or something. So anyways, Pelimoto is my pick. Who are you going with?
I'm going with Paz.
All
right. So then you've got, I believe, Bo-Katan versus IG-11.
I got Bo versus IG-11. I got to go with Bo.
All right, me too. I've got Queel versus Paz. You have Queel versus
Pelimoto. I got to go with Queel on this one.
All right. So that brings you to Bo versus Queel.
This is a hard one.
Oh my gosh! This is the first play-in. Let's.
Yeah, I know you got to get to bed soon. I'm working on it. Hold on.
I got to get my daughter to bed, for God's sake. It's not even me.
All right. Gosh.
I've got Bo-Katan versus Paz. I'm going with Bo-Katan.
All right. I'll go with Bo as well. As much as I like Queel, I don't know. Bo lasts longer, more impactful, has more to do at the end. So I'll go with her. I'll go with her. I'll play along.
Play-in 2 is from Ahsoka. We've got first matchup is Huyang versus Morgan Elsbeth.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm going with Huyang in this one because, I mean, it's David Tennant. Come on now.
Morgan Elsbeth I put here because I felt she had a more meaty role than she did in Mando. Yep. We only saw her in one episode, but this one we get a bit deeper dive and, get to see the conniving night, part night witch, or I guess not part night witch. She is a night witch in a way. Yeah. But Huyang is just a great character who developed very nicely over the course of the season. So I'm going to go with Huyang myself.
Oh, okay. So you reversed there. All right.
I did.
Next up, we've got Sabine Wren in we got the Battle of the Rebels. We've got Sabine Wren versus Ezra Bridger.
Well, we have the rescuer and the rescued. So
the rescuee.
The rescuee. Honestly, so I felt the series did more justice or did a better job of I don't mean to say positioning or selling us on Sabine, but I felt Sabine was just a much deeper character than Ezra ended up being.
Yeah. Well, I think they had more time before they got to Ezra to deal with Sabine. And I think that, I think you'll get more development on Ezra before, but I mean, I think they're also looking back on, like, chances are you've watched Rebels. So you've seen kind of, and that really was a lot of Ezra's story. Like that entire show was really 65% Ezra's journey.
Yep.
And that's actually kind of underselling it. So yeah, I went with Sabine as well. She definitely developed more as a character. So I believe we have the same pairing here, Huyang versus Sabine.
And I'm going to go with Sabine on this one.
I'm going with Huyang. Don't matter. Whoever makes it out of this one is going to be short-lived in the next bracket.
Who are they playing with? Playing against. Oh,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, they're going down.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So playing 3. This is from
Book of Boba
Fett. We've got the first matchup is Fennec Shand versus Black Chrysanthemum. I mean,
this one hurts because I like Black Chrysanthemum. I thought it was a great job establishing another big burly Wookiee not named Chewbacca.
Yes, with a distinct, with a fairly distinct personality, given as much screen time as there was. So, yeah,
yeah. And so this one hurts because I want to advance him, but Fennec Shand is kind of one of the 4 horse ladies of the Star Wars universe, and we gotta acknowledge that. So
neither of the Mandalorians in Book of Boba Fett would have made it out without Fennec.
Yes.
So yeah, I'm going with Fennec as well.
Indeed.
And then our next rant. This is one that I insisted on. We have Cad Bane versus Danny Trejo, Space Machete, Rancor Keeper.
Ladies and gentlemen, I had to cut characters that Uncle Todd put into the original lineup, like young Luke Skywalker. Who cares about that kid? He's in it for all of 5 minutes. Throw him
Done
out.
with him.
Done with him. Do we really need the Rancor Keeper? And this is what Uncle Todd texts back to me, a meme of Danny Trejo just saying,
Yep.
All right. Well, I am going to go with the live-action debut of a much beloved villainous bounty hunter known as Cad Bane. I'm going to go with him.
I'm going with the Rancor Keeper.
Boo!
No, I'm kidding. I'm going with Cad Bane. I had to get Danny Trejo in there. No,
All
Cad
right.
Bane was a badass. So I believe we both have Fennec Shand versus Cad Bane. Who do you got? Oh my gosh.
After I just built her up. No, I got to go with Fennec on this one. As cool as it was to see Cad in live action, it was short-lived, and Fennec, her presence spanned across 2 series and was impactful. So Fennec advances. 2 ladies, by the way. 3 ladies. The 4 horsewomen. They're making their debut. Here we go.
Because it's ladies' night.
You know what it is?
Time is right.
Cream of the crop rises to the top.
Shouldn't you have a Miss Elizabeth sweater for that?
Yeah, maybe.
All right, playing 4, we have, what is this one from? This is from Kenobi. All right, this one ought to be quick. We've got Peak Vader versus the Grand Inquisitor. I've got Peak Vader. Who do you got?
All right. I got to go Peak Vader as well.
Yeah.
Again, as cool as it was to see the Grand Inquisitor in live action, it was even cooler to see Vader pull a starship down as it's trying to take off.
Yeah. Although he does get some. Okay, we'll talk about this later. Inquisitor Reva versus young Princess Leia.
Had to include young Princess Leia in this one because that was great casting.
Yeah, she did really well as a young actor.
But I also want to recognize the actress who played Reva because she caught a lot of flack, when that series aired for stupid reasons, and she did I don't want to say serviceable. She did a wonderful job with that character. I think the writing around that character could have been better to play up the conflict within.
That can go for most of the characters in Kenobi, quite honestly.
But I'm going to go with young Princess Leia on this one.
I'm going with Reva.
Oh, all right.
I really enjoyed a character that was a little bit, a little bit of the Kylo Ren, like conflicted, not really sure what they wanted, and kind of complex. I like that. You got to have a couple of those characters in a world where literally it's like, good and bad, and that's it.
Yep.
All right, so I believe that gives us Peak Vader versus Leia for you, and Peak Vader versus Inquisitor Reva for me. Yes. Who do you got?
I'm actually gonna go with young Princess Leia.
Wow. All right. I'm actually going with Reva.
Are you really? Good for you, man.
I am. Yeah.
Vader's already got his flowers, so
yeah.
In the bracket where it really counts. Like this was a nice. I mean, in Obi-Wan, Peak Vader was it was very cool to see them showcase him the way they did, but we also got kind of a payoff in a different way that doesn't play to the idea of him being the super strong character, but rather this broken man.
Yeah.
And I thought, and so for that reason, I thought the Leia character was just, that was the star of that series. And to me, Vader was a fan service in a way, but in a way that had to be, to make the story.
Well, I had to
really
dock
shine.
some points in that boss battle because of that meme where they showed like Vader like talking with the Emperor's like, and so what happened to your battle with your other battle with Kenobi? I had the high ground, and then what did you do? I threw the high ground at him. Like, will you never learn?
So I just want to say, after the 4 play-ins, I have Bo, I have Sabine, I have Fennec, I have young Princess Leia. Let it not be said that the ladies are not represented in my brackets.
No,
right?
I got 3 ladies and a droid, so I'm right there behind you.
There you go.
All right, next up we've got our play-in 5. This is Andor specific, so we have is it Deidre or Daedra?
Deidre Miro.
Deidre Miro, not to be confused with Mark Miro or Sable Miro. Reyna Miro, and against Bix Colleen.
I think you're the only one who was confused on that front. I did not make that connection.
I have a tough time keeping these characters straight, sir.
All right, so Bix Colleen is Andor's good friend. Deidre Miro is the Imperial who is pursuing him. I think on Scruffy Looking Podcasters, they have a great line that they always play. It's like, you've engaged the curiosity of the ISB. But I got to go with Deidre Miro on this one, as much as Andor's tortured friend played a very big role. Deidre is it's great to see kind of a strong Imperial female character, and so I appreciated that greatly.
I'm going to choke my own spit.
Hey, hey-o.
I'm going with Bix Colleen.
All right.
Next up, we have Mon Mothma versus Marva Andor. Who do you got?
Another tough one. Marva with the hell of the speech, which apparently has a profanity version to it, where she was going to say "F the Empire" or something like that, and they threw it out.
Hashtag release the Marva cut.
But I got to go with Mon Mothma on this one. As great as it was to see, kind of a family connection for Cassian, and explains a little bit of his motivations and what kind of fueled him. I think seeing Mon Mothma like this series really kind of opened up that character a lot. She's always just been this kind of in and out of a scene kind of character, and we got to see or appreciate a little bit the risks that her character was dealing with as a senator, trying to run some. Knowing that the current government was not good and that something needed to change. And so it's I really appreciated them giving us a view into what she was kind of dealing with and working with Luthen.
Indeed. I'm going to agree. Mon Mothma for me as well. Next up, we have Cyril Karn versus Kino Loy.
So Cyril Karn is the much disturbed young man who is just like trying to get Andor to, I don't know, scratch an itch of some kind. And then Kino Loy is Andy Serkis, ladies and gentlemen.
In a tour de force performance.
Thank you for saying it. There it is. On program. I'm going to go with Kino on this one. As much as Cyril was this really good villain and just a really weird, tortured character, you weren't quite sure where he was going, and still don't. It'll be interesting when we get season 2. But Kino Loy, my God, like that character just stood out like so brightly. And so I got to go with that one.
Yeah, I'm going to agree. Kino for me. Do we even need to do this next one? We got Luthen versus B2EMO.
I was really stretching to find something worth putting against Luthen, but Luthen advances for me. I'm sorry. On the ship scene alone.
Yes.
Someone who, when you have a character who somehow outcools Han Solo, my God.
Yeah, Luthen as well. So I believe you have Deidre Miro versus Mon Mothma. I've got Bix versus Mon Mothma. Who do you got?
I'm going to go with Mon Mothma on this one.
I'm going with Bix.
All right.
And I believe we both have Kino versus Luthen. Again, nice ride, Andy Serkis, but Luthen advances for me.
You know why Luthen advances? Because he wants everything.
Good God. I mean, just
what a speech.
Stellan Skarsgård just chewing scenery in the limited time that he has. Oh, it was gorgeous.
Forget that it was probably one of the great, if not the greatest speech in a Star Wars film, TV series, whatever.
And you got two of them in this one. You got Marva too.
You have Marva too, but just Luthen's speech up against, even stuff outside of Star Wars. Like that monologue was incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, well written and well acted, and man, he just brought that to life in an incredible way. And just that everything, that like echoes, is just, oh my God. Awesome. Luthen.
So I believe you have Mothma versus Luthen.
I got the two grandparents of the Rebel Alliance facing off, and as much as I've been in the bag for the ladies, I'm sorry, Luthen's going all the way, baby.
Yeah. I've got Bix versus Luthen, and that's just that's it. It's Luthen.
That's like the Red Rooster versus Mr. Perfect.
Wow, there's a reference I was not expecting.
Good Lord.
Poor Terry Taylor.
Who the heck
have you
agreed
seen
to that gimmick?
Have you seen the Bobby Heenan shoot interviews that have been popping up on YouTube?
No.
So apparently he gave like a fairly lengthy interview back in like 2002, 2003.
Okay.
And they've been getting chopped up and they're all over my YouTube feed. And he talks at one point about managing Red Rooster. And he's like, I just did that, because they wanted me to do it. He's like, there wasn't any money in it. It was a nothing thing. Like I did that for TV time. He's like, I did that to stay on TV. So it's like, all right. So we are now into our official bracket.
I'm actually plugging in my plans right now. If you can give me a minute to do
No,
that.
I can't.
We're going quick here, man. We're going quick.
I can't believe that you had Bo-Katan in a play-in. I feel that's disrespectful. Like that's back.
It's
that's
not
like
disrespectful.
That's back when that's like the story that keeps up coming up from for Larry Bird, where he was all mad one time. He was either playing the 76ers or I think it was the Sixers because Charles Barkley I don't think had gone to Phoenix yet, and he's all mad. And Charles Barkley's like, he's like, man, what's wrong with you? He's like, man, and Larry says, you're disrespecting me. You're disrespecting me. He's like, what are you talking about? He's like, you got a white guy on me. And Larry Bird was white. But he was like, he's like, you got a white guy on me. It's just disrespectful. And Charles was laughing. Actually, and then I saw another one this past week, which was great when Dennis Rodman is talking about he was guarding Larry Bird very early in his career. And Bird kept on yelling. He's like, aren't y'all going to put anyone on me? And like Rodman's D'ing him up, like right in his face. And Bird's just like, man, I'm going to go for 50 if you don't put someone on me. Just acting like no one's guarding him. Like someone would get the ball. He's like, quick, give me the ball before they notice no one's on me.
Oh my gosh, that's hysterical. That is hysterical. Awesome.
Oh, what would Larry do in today's NBA when you can barely foul anybody?
Oh my God.
Would it be like 40 a night, just post up shooting all night long?
I think so. Gosh. All right, field of 16, my friend. Field of 16. Are you ready?
You have the con.
All right, our first bracket in the field of 16 in our round one before the quarterfinals. Ahsoka Tano. We're coming out swinging in this round. Ahsoka Tano versus Baylan Skoll. Ding ding.
Yeah. Unfortunately, as good as Baylan Skoll is, this is no competition because if there's, I'm so in the bag for Rosario Dawson and her portrayal of Ahsoka Tano. Ahsoka wins this one easily.
And I will echo your comments. I as much as I enjoy Baylan Skoll as a character and as much of a surprise as he was in that series, because he was a surprise. Like I don't think anyone expected him to shine the way that he did, and and it hurts all the more that the actor who played him, Ray Stevenson, passes away. I mean, Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka was just incredible. She is so good at it, and in Mando, in her own series, and so she's got to go forward.
And
so,
someone who's like actively campaigning for that role if it ever came to live action.
Yep. Which
I appreciate that someone like she's like, nope, I want to be that character, and as inhabits that character so well, I think.
Yep. Our next bracket in the first round, do we need to even talk about this? Grief Karga Mando against Sabine Wren.
And for me, it's Hu Yang.
Hu Yang versus Grief Karga for you.
Yeah. They all hate you, Mando. Grief Karga. Come on.
Oh, and again, what a surprise! You know, like
totally
in these series. And I said this a few weeks back, or a few episodes ago, when we were doing the Carl Weathers episode. You know, not that I didn't think Carl Weathers could be great at this character, but I just never imagined him in the Star Wars universe. It just never occurred to me to plug him into a character.
You never imagined that they would give so much to some of the supporting characters.
Mm-hmm.
And the beauty of it is, I think the writers gave those actors a little bit extra, and then those actors gave it a little bit extra. And between those two things, it just created some of these characters that were like, they just jump off the screen at you.
Yep.
Because you could tell the actors were into it, and they got just enough from the writers to be like, ooh, I'm just not like supposed to be background. Like, I can have a moment here and it'll be okay.
Yeah.
And he totally ran with that. And I mean, gosh, of course Carl Weathers is going to show, he's going to have some weight in that scene.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, damn, I mean, do the hand wavy thing,
I got nothing.
Some of the ridiculous things, but you just love this character. It was great.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It was such a pleasant surprise, and it was so great to see him in that universe.
Yes.
You know, like they gave his character a lot of meat and a lot for him to chew on, and he just knocked it out of the park. And so, and it was great to see his progression from, I don't know what you would call him as a purveyor of bounty hunter, bounties, to being a magistrate who has now built an entire city that has helped people. It's like, it's kind of, I like how, I don't know if it was Filoni or whoever's behind, the overall story arc of Mando, but I thought it was great to take his character that way. Instead of him staying stagnant as this one thing, they show him progressing into.
He went legit.
He did what Vito couldn't do.
he outlandoed Lando.
There we go. All right. Next bracket. This is an interesting one. Shin Hati versus Bo-Katan.
Is it really interesting? Is it really?
It is
okay, for you it might be Bo-Katan.
I'm going to need to take about 10 minutes to agonize over this decision. So
I will mute you.
Oh, I will unmute myself. I am also going to go with Bo-Katan. As great as as good as the Shin Hati character was, can't compare. What do you mean? She looked like a vicious, ninja character.
I just didn't.
She rode with the jackals.
Well, yeah, but I mean, I get the feeling that we're gonna get more out of that character later. I felt like there was just a lot of like basic setup, and that first season is really just kind of a placeholder. It was a bare bones establishment of the character.
I mean, she had some pretty vicious fights with Sabine.
Oh, she did, and that's
to establish her badassery.
Great. But I mean, you want to compare that to Bo-Katan? No.
Well,
next.
I think you have something. You're a little in the bag for Bo. So
hey, you know what? I never said that I was completely unbiased in this thing.
All right. Our next bracket is Grand Admiral Thrawn versus Fennec Shand for me. I don't know if it's the same for you. Is it?
Yes, it is.
All right. I am going to go with the Grand Admiral on this one. I thought his debut was on par with, or not on par, but above expectations of what I was expecting. I was really afraid they were going to really muff it up. And outside of the side profile shot where the gut was definitely in effect.
Keep bringing it up, man. I mean, Thrawn's. I mean, look at both of us. Like Thrawn's middle aged by this point. At best. He's
in all the book covers. He is a lean man.
It's dad bod Thrawn. Just let it go. Let it go.
Well,
I'll tell you what. I'm going to challenge you right now. You stand up and give the people a profile, and don't suck in.
I'm not.
There we go. Okay, and you're going to criticize Grand Admiral Thrawn. Okay.
I'm lean, baby.
You're lean. Compared to a gallon milk jug, I'm lean. And don't take that wrong. I'm a 2-liter bottle over here myself.
Oh my gosh. That was hysterical.
You know what? That calls for a little confetti right there.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, there it is.
I'll
give you two thumbs up on that one, brother.
Oh, thank you. So I'm actually gonna go with Fennec Shand.
Woo! What's that?
I'm gonna go with Fennec Shand.
Oh,
I thought she was a badass character, and I mean Thrawn again. Great debut. It was kind of. I really thought that they would nail this. I had a lot of faith in Filoni and the rest of the folks who've been doing these live streaming shows, Kenobi accepted. Even though that was fine. It was fine. Okay, it wasn't a disaster. It just wasn't as good as Andor, Ahsoka, or Mandalorian. I mean. Mm-hmm. It's probably right about there with Book of Boba Fett, and I just kind of had to think for Book of Boba Fett. I think it was a little bit better. Anyways, that's way long-winded explanation for something that doesn't matter. But I felt like, Thrawn's debut was right on par with what I thought was going to be. Fennec to me was kind of like the glue that held Book of Boba Fett together, and was really the thread that kind of wove all that together. And I really dug her character as that person who's just like, you just can't kill her. Like no matter what happens, she's coming back.
All right.
So I'm advancing Fennec in this one.
All right.
This next one's tough.
This is a hard one. This I say these are hard. This one is bringing the pain though, because and I'm going to surprise you, but it is Luthen Rael from the Andor bracket plan to up against the Mandalorian, who, let's be honest, the Mando series is what started all of this in a way, right? If this Mando series doesn't do well the first season, we don't probably get all this other great content. So this is what makes it hard, because do you go with the one that took you to the dance, or do you go with the one who got to, appreciate the dance and then shine even more? So I'm struggling with this one myself. I'll let you go first.
I'm going to go with the one that brought me to the dance, going with Mendo.
Oh,
of course. You don't just like ditch your date at the prom and the one like, oh, this pretty girl's kind of making eyes at me, No. You dance with the one that brung you.
All right. You're
going for Luthen, aren't you?
I'm feeling.
You want some of that sweet Stellan Skarsgård.
I'm feeling Luthen.
You're feeling Luthen. Okay, I'm. Look at me over here having restraint.
I'm proud of you. It was a test, and you passed.
All right, you got to pick now. Here, come on. Who is it?
Let's move on to the next bracket.
We need this answer: Luthen or Mando?
Oh gosh,
and pick, dude. This isn't like one of your children, dude. It's a Star Wars bracket.
We're still under an hour right now. Relax. We're gonna make it. All right. Mando is, as I've said before, everything I wanted to see in a Boba Fett kind of series before Book of Boba Fett. Luthen is just this character that came out of nowhere. Great speech, great ship scene. I mean, it was incredible. This is what I'm weighing right now. This is what I'm struggling with. I think I need another 10 minutes to sort this out. But I am going to go with, are we ready? God. Oh, I guess I'll go with the Mandalorian. Oh,
thank goodness. I don't even care if you picked which one you picked. I just want you to make a choice. Next.
It very much hurts for me to leave Luthen behind, though. Luthen was a great character.
Great. You know what?
All right, next bracket is Midlife Crisis Obi-Wan versus Cassian Andor. Who are you going with?
Come on. Andor.
You gotta. Unfortunately for Ewan McGregor, I just think Andor was the better series, and Andor was the better character between the two of them. So,
well, the more intriguing. This isn't necessarily iconic, because I mean, Obi-Wan Kenobi is like one of the most iconic characters. Mm-hmm. And in the first bracket, when you had OG Alec Guinness, Obi-Wan, like the bracket just was not kind to where he was.
No.
And here, it's not like Ewan McGregor is not iconic as that character. It's just, again, like Andor is kind of representing what Star Wars is kind of heading towards, and is such an intriguing character in terms of just who he is and where he's placed in the rebellion, that it's kind of tough to not pick him.
Yeah, agreed.
Which is why I'm going with Andor myself.
Next bracket is, for me, Grogu versus young Princess Leia. It may be different for you.
Yes, it's Grogu versus Reva.
Okay. I'm going to go with Grogu on this one. As much as young Princess Leia was wonderful in Obi-Wan, Grogu is, he's probably one of the few characters in this bracket overall that you can use the word iconic, because of the fact that he was a big reason why that series took off.
Everybody know Baby Yoda.
Oh, absolutely. And he was known as Baby Yoda for about a season and a half until we finally learned his name.
Yes.
Which we can thank Ahsoka Tano for. So if they meet in the finals, that's going to be a rough one.
Yeah.
All right. And who are you going with? Are you doing Grogu, you said, as well?
Of course, yeah.
Of course. Okay. Last bracket of the first round, Moff Gideon versus Boba Fett.
Oh, this is a
From
legit
the Sons
tough
of Tatooine.
because I really did appreciate getting to know more Boba Fett.
Getting to know his story after the Sarlacc pit.
Yeah, and just all of that. However, going back to, like, if we don't have Mando, we don't have Book of Boba Fett. We don't have all this other stuff. And part of the reason Mando was really, really cool is because Moff Gideon was a badass, cool mofo. And Giancarlo Esposito. Oh,
yeah.
That man is just smooth. I have to give it to Moff Gideon on this one. As much as I want to give it to Boba Fett, it's like it really is almost a coin flip situation. But Moff Gideon wins it by a nose in my bracket. And
I think it's, when I looked at this bracket, and I'm going to go with Moff Gideon as well. But when you look at this bracket, I thought it was an easier choice to go with Moff Gideon. But as you were talking and you were saying, how cool it was to see his Fett story, it brought me back to the fact that, we saw that whole journey with the Tusken Raiders, which was as much about seeing something about the Tusken Raiders we had never seen before than it was about Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
And that, I thought, was actually one of the high points of the Book of Boba Fett, was not so much, him trying to become like the boss of that village or whatever position he ended up in. I can never remember the name of it. But was to see how the, to finally see the Tusken Raiders as a people and not just as savages. And I thought they did a wonderful job of showing that, and showing, one of the best scenes in that series is when he does reclaim slave, I know that they don't call it Slave One anymore, but when he gets a ship.
Yes.
And he goes after the people that took out the clan that, oh my gosh, was that just amazing to see. But no, I to your point, Mandalorian, makes an iconic hero, makes a new iconic, character that kids and people of any age can fall in love with Grogu, and they find a great villain, who is in possession of this crazy, like, shining, saber that's not quite a lightsaber but looks like one,
Yeah.
And so, I got to give it to Moff Gideon.
Alrighty then.
All right, so that takes us out of the first round into the quarterfinals. So for me, my first bracket in the quarterfinals is Ahsoka Tano versus Greef Karga. Are you the same?
Mm-hmm.
So I think for this one, Greef is now going to pay the price that he once benefited from in the prior bracket, I think, because when you compare the two, as wonderful as Carl Weathers was as that character, it's kind of no comparison when you look at what Rosario's done with Ahsoka Tano.
And I think even Carl would have been like, no, I got you on this one.
Yep.
You're right. Ahsoka for me as well.
All right. Second bracket for me in the quarterfinals, for me, is Bo-Katan versus Grand Admiral Thrawn. Who do you got?
I got Bo-Katan versus Fennec Shand.
Ooh. Who are you going with?
Fennec is a badass. Bo-Katan's a bigger badass.
All right. For me, this is where my fandom of the Grand Admiral comes to an end, because I, too, have to acknowledge, much like Roman Reigns asks us to, I have to acknowledge Bo-Katan in terms of impact, in terms of the role that she plays in season 2 and 3. And, we definitely got to advance her. it was great to see a live action Grand Admiral Thrawn. Don't get me wrong, but he won the third bracket because he was well represented in the animated series.
Yes.
We have not seen enough of him yet, so I got to go with Bo-Katan on this one. Next one's a toughie. Doesn't get any better. This third bracket is a killer. The Mandalorian versus Cassian Andor.
Yeah, same here. I'm giving it to Mando, which is kind of odd when you think about it, because I feel like the Mandalorian is a much less complicated character. The thing that's playing in Andor's favor is the fact that he's a very complex character. Well, maybe not. Maybe that's a wrong word. Complex in comparison to other Star Wars characters. But Mandalorian does have this great arc.
Yeah.
And it's really discovering the humanity behind the mask, you know?
Yep.
So I've got to go with Mando on this one.
I'm actually going to go as well with Mandalorian. As much as I like Cassian Andor, there is an element of, you know, and I don't mean to keep coming back to this one point, but if he doesn't resonate as a character, and if that TV show doesn't do well, right, we don't get these other characters. And so I may be showing my hand a little bit of who's going to the finals, but at the same time, you know, truth be told, right, like that's the fact of the matter here. And you know, he's you know, I would put him and Cassian Andor almost on equal footing. Like, yes, we don't get the depth that we're getting with Andor, but there is a depth to him, you know, and there is something to him being that kind of old gunslinger.
Oh yeah.
That, you know, plays very well with, you know, rescuing the child and, you know, fighting those who are trying to capture him and that sort of capture the child and that sort of thing. And so I feel like it's just a tale as old as time that seems to resonate as a sci-fi telling.
Way to bring in a Beauty and the Beast reference into our Star Wars bracket.
Hey man,
kudos to you.
That's why I get paid the big bucks.
It's a Renaissance man.
When's my bonus coming?
Right.
By bonus, I mean bottle of bourbon, but
as soon as you pay for it,
well,
you got the better job.
Fair enough.
Next.
All right, last bracket of the quarterfinals. For me, it is Grogu versus Moff Gideon. Who is it for you? All right, who are you going with?
I'm going with the wavy hands. I mean, Grogu. Come on now. Everybody loves Baby Yoda. Everybody knows Baby Yoda. And, Giancarlo, it was nice while it lasted, but nope.
Indeed.
And you?
I'm going with Grogu as well. I mean,
right.
it is one of the that character is a foundational character, and so it is the stone upon which everything else is built upon. And so
we have Werner Herzog to thank for the puppetation of Grogu, who advocated heavily for it in his thick accent. It will be a puppet, and it'll be wonderful.
Yes, and I was trying to find a way to force his character of the client into the play-in bracket because of the fact of how good he was. Yes.
He was fantastic, but only like one scene. I mean,
yeah.
But what a hell of a scene. Did you know, like, so the thing that holds all the it's the alloy. I forget what it is, the
Beskar?
Mandalorian. Yeah, Beskar.
Yeah.
The thing that holds that. So that came from
that container. Yeah.
That container came from back in the Empire Strikes Back.
Yes.
And it was like this ice cream maker.
Yeah.
From Sweden. You can now buy that, a recreated version of that, when you go to Disney in all like Star Wars themed stores.
What the heck do they call that? What is the
I was like, that is ridiculous. That has gone full circle of like, we grabbed this thing because it looked cool and shoved it into an extra's hands, and then it becomes an actual prop, and then you can buy that actual prop.
Here is your Cantono of Beskar.
Sure.
That's what it's called. It's called a Cantono.
Camtono.
It's a
weird old world.
All right.
So now we're into the quarters, right?
We're in the semifinals.
Semifinals. Oh my gosh. Time's a flying.
We are down to the final four.
Ooh.
It is so for me. I have Ahsoka Tano versus Bo-Katan. I have the Mandalorian versus Grogu.
Same. Ooh.
All right, so this will be interesting.
It's like Battle of the Titans right here.
This is where the cream rises to the top.
I thought you were gonna like fasten a seatbelt or something on your gaming chair.
There are no seatbelts in Star Wars, sir. Come on.
True.
Now.
I forgot.
Come on now. This is your law of the universe in Star Wars.
Stupid.
All right. So Ahsoka Tano versus Bo-Katan. The love of Katie Sackhoff versus the love of Rosario Dawson.
This really is like Sophie's choice right here. Like I've got my 2 children. Like it's tough. Because I think both of these actors are fantastic in pretty much everything I've ever seen either of them in. And I think they both embody these characters extraordinarily well. Mm-hmm. I'm going to give it to Bo-Katan because again we see her first.
Not surprised.
I know. But also I got to give a little extra credit, and I want to maybe break down, walk between the 2 worlds, and say
the world between worlds.
That Katie Sackhoff gets a little extra credit for having always been Bo-Katan, starting out voicing her in the animated series, and Rosario Dawson was not the original voice of Snips. So if that's the way I gotta split that hair, that's the way I'm gonna do it. So Bo-Katan advances for me.
All right.
Who you got?
I'm gonna go with Ahsoka Tano. As much as I like the
Fair
Bo-Katan
enough.
character, I very much enjoy the Rosario Dawson Ahsoka character.
One of the best debuts.
Yes.
Just
one of the most badass debuts.
Oh my gosh, those twin lightsabers coming alive, just
like her in the. I mean that entire episode, her just hacking and slashing like a ninja.
Yes.
In the night. Then you have, what's his name from? What the heck is his name?
Space Johnny Ringo.
Space Johnny Ringo. Thank you. You got Space Johnny Ringo against the Mando in a gunfight. He goes down.
Yeah.
And then you have Ahsoka facing off Morgan Elsbeth.
Yep.
With a great fight, which ends with her saying, "Where's Grand Admiral Thrawn?" And I'm literally sitting on the floor of my bedroom watching this with my family like, oh my God! It's like...
She said the thing. She said the thing.
Like that one, like when you think about and then we learn Grogu's name.
Yes, that is probably if you had to pick.
That's a freaking stacked episode.
The best episode of Star Wars live streaming. That has to be, if it isn't the best, it has to be in the top 3. I can't imagine what tops it. But yes, no, you're totally right. And I can't disagree with the choice of Ahsoka. I mean, I have nothing to debate there.
Katie Sackhoff's winning this whole thing, isn't she?
We will see. So we both have Mando versus Grogu.
Mando versus Grogu in this one.
Wavy hands versus just metal visage.
Unfortunately, the wavy hands don't cut the mustard.
Oh,
they
I see
are
what
not
you did there.
The cream of the crop. It is the Mandalorian who is the embodiment of everything I wanted to see in a Mandalorian armored individual, and I'm going to advance him. So I'm going with Mando.
Can bring in warm or cold.
That's right. Bring
that
in warm,
that intro. Oh my gosh.
Bring in cold.
That whole intro, like before they even get to the title sequence, was when I first saw that, I was just like, I'm in. I don't care what happens next. It could be a blank screen for 20 minutes. I'd be like, that was awesome.
How heartbroken were we all too when his ship gets blown up? You know what I mean? Like that to me was a phenomenal bounty hunter-esque ship. And then what does he get? A Naboo N1 starfighter. That is what he moves on to. It's like, I want to see him in another like
Razor Crest,
Millennium Falcon like ship. You know what I mean?
Well, we never know. I mean,
like why doesn't he pick up Luthen's ship? Where's Luthen's ship? I mean, Luthen's probably dead and gone. Ship's probably sitting in Tatooine with a tarp over it. It's like, come on, pick it up, man. That thing's got a laser thing, like a wavy hand laser thing on. You know,
like
that's
the intergalactic version of Car Gurus.
Oops, I got to get in frame, otherwise it doesn't do it. There it is. Bum, 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 bum.
All right, so you're going with Mando. I'm also going with Mando.
Of course, you got to. You got to.
Which brings us, I believe, both to the same finals.
So your finals is an all Mandalorian final. It is Bo-Katan versus the Mandalorian.
Oh, that's right. No, you got Ahsoka. That's right.
And I have Ahsoka Tano versus the Mandalorian.
Yeah. You want to go first or I go first? How does this work? Do you go first or I go first?
You go first. I want to see you book it. Katie Sackhoff wins the finals. Let's see it. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Mando is iconic. He is like you put it. This is basically what everyone wanted from Boba Fett.
Capital B, but.
There's no but. There is no but. Like that character is iconic. Mm-hmm. The thing that separates Bo-Katan is that you get to see the person behind the mask a little bit more. Mm-hmm. And I get that is totally by design for the purposes of the Mandalorian character. Totally makes sense. I'm just saying for my preference, the fact that I get to know the human behind that, it just gives that edge. So again, this is like the Ahsoka Bo-Katan thing. I was like,
it'll save us all some time and just said it's Katie Sackhoff and just do it.
It is. And that's the other part. So Bo-Katan wins Region 4 for me.
Oh,
how about you, sir?
The fix is in.
Oh, like you didn't see that.
From the play-in all the way through. Look at that.
Running the tables, sir.
Oh my gosh. I am going with the Mandalorian. He is iconic. He is the
over
reason.
Ahsoka?
Over Ahsoka. Ahsoka doesn't exist if he doesn't land as a character. I'm sorry. I as much as I love Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka, as much as she has done a wonderful job, yeah, you can put up the wow. That's okay. I think the Mandalorian character is, well done. Is goes through quite a journey over the 3 seasons. Deals with the whole helmet, no helmet thing. I like the character. As we have talked through this bracket, I almost eliminated him to Luthen, which what was I thinking? Because Luthen, as great as he is, Mandalorian is better. He's fired. Rosario called me. Great. Glad to know I'm to be replaced by Ahsoka Tano. I'll put that on the resume any day. I was replaced by Rosario Dawson. Do you know who I run with?
Hey,
I'm going with Mando in the finals. So my final 4 after all these 4, and I want you. I don't know if you can pull it up right now. I can pull it.
You can make me do this.
I can pull it up. But my final 4, after all has been said and done, in the words of Gorilla Monsoon, Luke Skywalker, Jyn Erso, Grand Admiral Thrawn, and the Mandalorian are my final 4 going into our finals episode next week with, if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, is Jimmy Dice joining us?
He will be joining us.
He will be joining us.
All right.
Make his triumphant return for the 6th time.
Mine is Vader from the OG.
All right.
Then we've got Thrawn from the animated series. I opened up the OG one twice. Hang on. Who made it out of my...
Of course you did. He's had a little too much of this.
No, where's the prequel? See, the thing is, you didn't name these like Region 1, Region 2, Region 3.
Todd sequel trilogy Rogue One.
All right, fine. Hang on a second here. And Recluse Luke.
So say it again. Vader.
Yep. Thrawn. Recluse Luke.
And then
Bo-Katan.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's your final 4. Impressive. Most impressive. Got to get it in frame.
Did mine not work? It did. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, sir. So, moving onward and upward here, hopefully. What do you got for and another thing this week?
So my and another thing is actually a little bit of a repeat of one that we've done before. This is on A&E because we're in that season. on A&E biography, WWE Legends and WWE Rivals.
Yes.
They're actually playing. It's kind of funny. I wonder if they learned something from the ratings and they flip them around. So Rivals goes first, and then there's Legends. So they're like, we're gonna hook you with Rivals. You got to watch that, and then you can watch the Legends biography.
Oh, hang on a second. We have our roving reporter.
We have Nanook of the North who has arrived.
Yes. What's going on? You're going to bed? All right, we'll be done very soon. All right, good night. Love you.
Tell her she looks like the Reverend Mother from Dune.
Hey, Kaylin. Tim says you look like one of the Bene Gesserit. Remember, fear is the mind killer. I think it's a compliment.
Tell her it's a compliment. It's 100% compliment.
He confirms it's a compliment.
Okay.
All
right. Nothing says compliment like, hey, you look like a Bene Gesserit.
You're the one who said it.
Well,
All right. Anyways, A&E Rivals and
so
Legends.
A couple of just notable ones. They do the Macho Man and Jake the Snake, which is a very, very well done Rivals episode. That is phenomenal.
Does he tell this story about paintbrushing the snake before?
He doesn't tell the story about paintbrushing the snake, but he tells a story about how, like, and I love how Jake says this. He's like, he looks at the camera and he's like, understand this. He actually thinks I'm going to try to kill him with a snake. I mean, to hear Jake Roberts say it that way is absolutely hysterical. He's like, what kind of insanity is that?
Well, and a stone sober Jake Roberts now.
Oh my God, yes. So Jake Roberts, I'm forgetting what the first one was. Oh, Triple H versus who was it? Triple H versus The Rock was the first one for which is a really good one because that was a key feud during the late 90s going into the 2000s. Jake the Snake and Macho Man was the next one. John Cena versus Randy Orton is the one I'm watching now. Which I forgot about. I mean, Orton Cena was actually a really big feud back in the mid 2000s to probably early 2010s. And then the Legends the one I haven't watched is Sergeant Slaughter, but they did Randy Orton, Scott Hall. I think last night was Diamond Dallas Page, Diamond Dallas Page is really interesting to me because this is a guy who gets into pro wrestling. I mean, he was in the business as a manager, but
30s or something, wasn't it?
He was he was 35. And I think he was 40 when he became world champion. When WCW looked at him as a main eventer, he was like 40 years old. So just phenomenal stories. We're all in the bag for wrestling as a whole. And so if you're an appreciator of the history of what these guys put themselves through and go through, do check these out. They're very well done. I don't want to say highly entertaining. It's just, I'm just fascinated to hear their stories because you think about these success stories and you wonder how many hundreds of stories didn't get to this point. You know what I mean? Like this is not an industry where success is guaranteed. There's a lot that goes into it, and there's hard work clearly, but there's a lot of people that put hard work in and they don't end up where they,
you've got to think that
some of these people do.
The percentages are somewhat close to, if not maybe even higher than like you're at, like the best player who's ever played for your high school ever going to the NFL.
Yep.
Probably didn't happen for most of us, and what's the success rate for people who want to get into wrestling who actually wind up
either remember the kid at UNH who was playing on the hockey team, who was the star? Remember that guy?
Oh, there's a ton of them.
I'm just saying that one guy though, when we were going to college,
David Krog, he won the year that they went to the national championship, they went to the Frozen Four.
Was it David Krog?
David Krog won the Hobie Baker Award, which is basically the Heisman for the best hockey player in the United States. He won the Hobie Baker Award while we were in Anaheim. I was there at the ceremony. I was there at the championship game. Yep. And that championship game was UMaine versus UNH, which was insane. The fact that we traveled 3,000 miles across the country to play a game
to a climate which is the complete antithesis for what ice hockey needs.
And the fact was it was played in Anaheim, California, and it was hosted by the University of Alaska, but they had to have it in Anaheim because ain't nobody flying to Juneau.
Yeah.
Not to mention the fact that they wouldn't be have an arena for that. But yeah, no, and he, I don't think he really did much in the NHL. The goalie who was that Conklin? Was that? No, I think it was Conklin who was in that, or was it Mateel? I'm getting those two mixed up. But anyways, there was a goalie from UNH who was around that period of time. He actually went on to play in the NHL longer, I think, than David Krog did.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, but you look at the number of like great players in high school and or even a college going on to professional sports. You got to think that it's somewhat the same.
Yeah.
Like there's only but so many, and I would even think it's less because there's only so many main event spots.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you could go on and be a jobber. Even that would be, there's tons of guys who'd be like, man, I would have sawed off my left arm to be Iron Mike Sharp back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
He probably made some okay money. He's at least doing what he wants to do. But yeah, no.
Yep.
Sorry, I didn't mean to hijack that on you.
No worries. So no, my another thing is a little bit of a recycled rehash, but it is WWE Rivals and Biography WWE Legends on A&E. Do check it out. Stories are fascinating, and if you can get access to some of the earlier seasons of it, just phenomenal stuff. So do check it out. What is yours, sir?
So mine is another one in line kind of with a few episodes ago when I had, was it Next Goal Wins? Something like that. So we had family movie night the other night and watched Damsel starring Millie Bobby Brown and also Ray Winstone and Robin Wright.
Oh, okay.
And
Millie Bobby Brown of Stranger Things.
And Enola Holmes, which is actually more how I know her because I've never watched Stranger Things. Okay. So she is doing quite well for herself these days. I mean, she is like killing it with getting movies. I think they basically greenlit this movie for her after the first Enola Holmes movie. It was like, what do you want? And just write a number down and it's yours.
Yeah.
Which is kind of funny because, I mean, so we did this for family movie night and thought it was going to be kind of this cute fantasy sort of thing. It goes pretty hard for a fantasy movie. It goes pretty hard. There's some moments where I'm just like, whoa, okay. That's actually a little more hardcore than Dune was in some spots.
Yeah.
Yep. But overall, good flick. Millie Bobby Brown is kind of one of those folks for me where I'm like, I don't know if she's going to end up becoming like, I think she's a good actor. I just wonder if it's going to turn into this thing where she becomes like a Nick Cage kind of actor. Like you never forget that you're watching Nick Cage. And like, I don't ever feel like I kind of let myself go into the character where I'm never feel like, oh, this is Millie Bobby Brown. But anyways, it was a lot of fun to watch, and it was really good. I enjoyed it. So yeah, if you're puttering around looking for something for the fam to watch, and you don't mind things going a little bit, a little bit more hardcore than you might think for your average family movie night, this is your flick. I thought it was really good.
Nice.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time that I ought to be quieting down so my daughter can actually sleep. But it's more so time for us to pack up this traveling medicine show of idiocy and wander off to the next town where we will fleece that inhabitants of their hard-earned
snake oil, free snake oil.
Intelligence, basically. So thank you all for listening and watching. If you're watching on YouTube, definitely make sure you subscribe and turn on those notifications. And if you'd like to join the Free Range EDC congregation, that's a real easy way to do it, especially on YouTube. If you're watching this, subscribe to our channel and then make sure you turn on them notifications. It'd be nice if we got like a little thumbs up. Get a thumbs up? See, give us a thumbs up as well. That always just makes us feel better about ourselves, and we need it. You saw Tim get up and give a profile earlier. I'm not going to do that because I'm kind of in the same boat. So we need all of the positive thoughts about ourselves that we possibly can. And if you don't want to watch the show, if you're listening to this, what you can do is you can go to freerangeedc.com You can subscribe right through the Podbean app. You can find all of our episodes right there. You can download them one at a time, all of them at once if you want. Do whatever you like. We're not your dad. We're not going to tell you how to live. If you don't want to get another app in your life, you can find us on Apple Podcasts. You can find us on Spotify, Pandora, whatever they call Amazon's podcast service. We're also on Google Podcasts, all kinds of things. Search for Free Range Idiocy. You will find us, and you can download and subscribe to our audio version of the podcast. If you would like to find us on the social medias, we are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, we're on the YouTubes. All of those are at Free Range EDC. If you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, and quite honestly, offers of outright bribery, we're not above it.
Katie Sackhoff threw a few shekels his way, so that's why he wins the bracket.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, she's definitely worried about how she does on this podcast. Totally. Anyways, if
I saw the email, Todd. Here's a few hundo your way. Make it happen.
Right. Anyways, if you have any suggestions for shows or any questions, you can send those to Tim at freerangeidiocy.com, and he will get back to you forthwith, henceforth, if not sooner. And now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for me to stop flapping my gums, at least for a few seconds. And I'm going to turn this over to the less idiotic of the two idiots that run this show, but not before I ask the second most important question in all of human history. Of course, the first being the eternal question, what is hip? The second being, besides hand gestures, what the hell did we learn this episode?
We have learned that Uncle Todd is hip to the hand gestures in Sonoma and updated his OS right away. So
I am not a crook.
Part of the party. We have learned Robert Ebert. You know when I say Robert Ebert? Because I wrote it Robert Ebert in the stupid outline.
God, please, no! You are worse.
I was sober when I put this outline together, for crying out loud.
You're wrong.
Oh, I am wrong. Roger Ebert was, in the know 15 years ahead of his time on what works and what doesn't work for MCU, and the MCU should take note of his advice.
Yeah!
We have also learned that the man they call Tim will break out the ugly Christmas sweater when needed, especially if we're doing brackets and we need to know what rises to the top, because the cream does rise to the top.
Let me talk to you!
Indeed. We have learned Uncle Todd's a little bit stingy with the music when we get the lasers going. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be nice to get a little LA Knight, little cult of personality going.
You're wrong.
But, stingy nonetheless. He's fired. We've also learned that apparently Rosario Dawson will be replacing me if I am fired. And we have learned as well that the bonus structure here at Free Range Idiocy is, 0 times anything is 0. So
nothing from nothing means nothing.
Indeed.
A little Billy Preston for you there.
And we've also learned a little bit of a tease next week. Jimmy Dice is joining us.
Yeah, sure.
All that
Smelt,
being
felt, and dealt.
Indeed. Smelt, felt,
And actually, I think he's going to be on video with us.
Is he?
I don't know. I don't know
nice.
if the world is ready for all of this.
Yes.
This could be traumatizing for a lot of people.
I may have to wear this shirt again, for the cream rising to the top.
I can only imagine how much you're sweating right now. Wearing the sweater plus the toque.
Dude, cool
right
as
there.
a cucumber.
Right there, 3 roaches and an ant died when he lifted up his arms.
Hey, this
I
is
could actually see the smell.
The other thing we have learned is that the man they call Tim is more of a correct Thrawn profile than Lars Milkinson. So let's just say that, ladies and gentlemen. I am svelte, lean, mean, fighting machines.
You're wrong.
Uncle Todd's trying not to spit out the drink he just drank.
Humble.
All that being said, we thank you again for listening. Be safe, be healthy, be kind, be good to one another. You don't have to go home, but you can't stay here. The range is closed. I'm getting the stink eye to wrap it up. Thank y'all.
It's like I took the wrong week to quit drinking.
I beg your pardon, what did you say?
Damn!
You're such a disappointing pair. I prayed so hard for you. Get out. Don't come back until you've redeemed yourselves.
So,
yes.
Do we even place bets on whether or not Bo-Katan's going to win this all for me, or has Vegas taken that off the boards?
If Bo-Katan wins this whole thing, it is, just, you should be ashamed of yourself.
Wasn't it all Starbuck, an all Starbuck Final Four for me in the
It probably
BSG?
was in some way, yes. There was probably 4 Starbuck episodes, and you had to pick one of them, which was, probably, very difficult for you.
I am who I am.
All right, can we get some music for the lasers? Come on, man, get the lasers up.
The heart wants what the heart wants.
Indeed, Sean. Oh, there it is. Look at that. Loving it. Boom.
We are so lame.
Oh, well, as long as we're having fun, you know what I mean?
Now get the hell out of here!